In every mathematics forum that he can post in, Australia's self-declared best erotic poet dumps his proof that mathematics is self-contradictory and that mathematicians are fools for doing maths. Today I am going to show why the self-titled Magister Colin Leslie Dean is wrong, and perhaps teach a little bit about actual mathematics along the way. If I'm feeling extra feisty, I might even go after him on his home turf of literature. So what is Colin Dean's proof of mathematics self-contradiction? That he inflicts upon the undeserving mathematical community with the annoying recurrence rivaled only by a foot fungus. It goes as follows. The whole numbers are numbers without non-zero digits to the right of the decimal place, and the non-whole numbers have non-zeros to the right of the decimal point. 1.0 is a whole number because it can be represented with no non-zero numbers to the right of the decimal point. 0.9 repeating is not a whole number. It has non-zero digits to the right of the decimal point. But 1 equals 0.9 repeating. This means that a whole number is equal to a non-whole number. Something being equal to its opposite is a contradiction. So therefore, all of mathematics is wrong. A proof structured like this is called a proof by contradiction. The idea is if you start from a group of assumptions and get to a contradiction, then one of your assumptions must be wrong. To our master of erotic verse, the assumption that he has concluded is wrong is that mathematics has meaning. However, perhaps there is another assumption that was made which would be better to select as the incorrect one. Perhaps what is wrong is not the whole of mathematics, but the definition our poet is using for whole numbers. There is a basic principle of mathematics that mathematical facts should be true independent of the notation that you use. The ancient Greeks, for example, have notions of whole and non-whole numbers, but they didn't have decimals. So that clearly shows that there must be some other way of distinguishing between whole and non-whole numbers without using decimals. I'm not going to go into the ancient Greek system here. I'm going to go with the standard modern definition of whole numbers. It starts with taking pairs of counting or natural numbers. Pairs where the placement in the pair matters. I've already talked about what the formal definition of what a counting number is in another video. But in short, the counting numbers are basically 0, the next number after 0, the next number after that one, and so on and so on. With these pairs of counting numbers, we now establish a few rules about how pairs can be equivalent. First, we say a pair is equivalent to the pair that we get after adding 1 to the first and the second number in the pair. Then we say that equivalence is transitive. In other words, if diamond pair and circle pair are equivalent, and circle pair and square pair are equivalent, then diamond pair and square pair are equivalent. We then collect all the equivalent pairs into sets. We then can call the entire collection of sets the whole numbers or integers. We can give each set a name, and each set can have multiple names. So this set can be called 1, 0.9 repeating, itchy, you know. With this definition of a whole number, our poetics friend's proof can now be resolved without contradiction, because we are simply referring to two different names for the same thing. And the fact that one name has digits to the right of the decimal point no longer matters. Well, at least Colin Leslie Dean has his poetry. So let's review his poetry. His poetry is unreadable. Yes, poetry is subjective. But for this particular subject, 20 pages of a single run-on sentence without line breaks or rhythm, with archaic words splashed in seemingly at random, shifting unpredictably between using the fonts Papyrus and Materta script, is just not conducive to pleasure. But there is something that goes beyond just my personal preferences. He has published Quintin, erotic poems from the Australian Aborigines, which he claims are reimagined translations of Aboriginal poetry. Cultures of the Australian Aboriginal people are under constant threat. So, if a non-Aboriginal person was to publish poetry passing off as being genuinely Aboriginal, that would be kind of scummy. I truly hope that he is of Aboriginal descent. But let's just skim over the rest of this guy's catalogue of published books of poetry. He has a book of Muslim erotica, authored by him, and a book of Indian erotica. Oh, and some Japanese erotica. Unless he's an Indian Muslim Aboriginal Australia with Japanese heritage, this is really problematic. The mathematical community will most likely never be free of our self-appointed greatest erotic poet, but at least the foundations of mathematics isn't at risk. With a few good definitions, it is rugged. As for the literary community, I am sure that they are able to make their own judgments. And if you want to learn about more concepts such as these, please consider watching some of my videos recommended here.